I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. I'd like to now introduce the people seated at the head table. We have Reverend Ross Shelton, who you heard earlier, pastor of the First Baptist Church. We have Judge Milton Powers. He's the JP of Precinct 3. We have Brian Weatherford, our sheriff. Commissioners Todd Staples, Mayor Ben Bythewood, and Amy Bythewood. Now I'd like to ask Judge Jacques Blanchette to come up and introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Kathy. Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry. Good evening, everyone. It still doesn't work, does it, right? I've had the privilege and pleasure of introducing your agricultural commissioner in a number of occasions over the last several years. I came to first become acquainted over at Woodville High School with former Senator Todd Staples whenever he was addressing the high school in a congregation over there, a meeting one time. I've always been taken aback by his stature and his presence. As I've had the privilege of being in his office and visiting with him with several from East Texas, he is consistently the same representative of the people, for the people, and I've appreciated coming to know his heart and his spirit. So it's my pleasure to introduce to you one of the most recent published authors of Broken Borders and Broken Promises. I'm also pleased to introduce to you your Commissioner of Agriculture, Mr. Todd Staples.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's certainly good to be here with you this evening. I've been excited to be in Tyler County. Have you ever heard the phrase that life is 10% what happens to you and 90% of how you respond? You think that's true? Dr. Babbitt, I've always said if you're going to live in Texas, you need to know your geography. I've always joked when I've been in other parts of the state and said, you know, you really got to know your way around East Texas because Rust is not in Rust County, and Henderson is not in Henderson County, and Tyler is not in Tyler County, right? Well, I had a great experience this evening. I was going to meet the sheriff at about 6:20 or 6:30 and come say hi to everybody and have a good time. I went to the state pooling board to get here today. I flew in from Corpus this morning to Austin and testified at the Capitol on some water legislation that former Mayor Cooley's watching very closely, and many others in this room are as well. And I told one of the pilots, I said, now I've flown into Tyler County a time or two. It's a great little airport. It's a little bit tight, but it's going to be good. And they said, yeah, I've flown in there before. And I said, well, great. So I get on the airplane, I fall asleep. Plane touches down. I look out the window and I see a big old hangar. And I said, man, I hadn't fallen into Tyler County while I heard economic development was going real good. I kind of cleared my eyes and went up to the pilot and I said, folks, we're in Tyler, Texas, not Tyler County. So that's why I'm late and I apologize, but I'm very glad to be here with you this evening. I was tempted to just tell you we had plane issues, which would have been true, all the way true, But I couldn't help it. I just thought I'd go and lay it all out to you, just the way it really happened. But I am very glad to be here. And what complicates it even more, my wife was flying back from Philadelphia to Houston to Austin this evening, and she called me about 1:30 and I was in the middle of meetings. It was just been a wild day, and I always answer her call whenever I possibly can. And I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm on the way to the airport right now." And I said, "Well, you're going early." And she said, "I got a text, and they said the plane is leaving early." And I said, "Baby, the planes never leave early. Planes leave late. You better call Southwest Airlines." And so, as a matter of fact, her plane was not leaving early. It was leaving late as well. And so she's had plane issues as well, and I'm picking her up in Austin here not too long from now, and I'm supposed to be at the Austin Bergstrom Airport to pick her up, and it's my fault her plane's late. I want y'all to know. And so I said, "Yes, dear." So I'm going to have to sneak out when we get through, but I wanted to be here with you tonight to say thank you for making me proud of East Texas. Thank you for your work to make Texas a great state. Anybody here tonight just a little bit proud to be a Texan? I tell you what, you should be. We have much to be proud of. We have a great deal to be thankful for, and it's your work ethic and it's your commitment to moving our state forward and working through issues and finding solutions that really separates Texas from the rest of the nation. I kind of like the fact that we're having a Chamber of Commerce meeting in the fellowship hall of a church, because that really defines the strength and character of each of you here tonight and what we stand for as Texans. And I hope that we don't ever lose that. We have about 1,200 people a day that moved to the Lone Star State last decade. This decade, we have about 1,500 people a day moving to Texas. Somebody said, "I just hope they think like us and we don't start thinking like them." You know, what we have is pretty special. We have outpaced the nation in population growth. We've outpaced the nation in job growth. People are doing commercials about moving from California to Texas. You might have heard a little bit about. That's kind of a good thing too. We want to see that happening. A pretty prominent golfer got in trouble about complaining about the high tax rates. But folks, people will move. Capital flows to where it is welcome. And we need to make certain that we send a strong message that we want it welcomed in Texas. We want good things to happen, and you are a dynamic part of that. Some friends in Austin tease me a little bit when I tell them where I'm from, and they say, "Oh, you're from behind the pine curtain." Y'all heard that a time or two, haven't you? And I tell them it is a special way of life and a special people who believe in hard work and honesty, and they expect the same from their neighbors. And that's the kind of values that you pass on. And agriculture continues to play a major role in this economy and in our state's economy. For about a 5-year average, you're averaging well over $50 million a year in terms of cash receipts. Obviously, second largest timber producing county in the state, right here in Tyler County, has a big impact. Agriculture represents about 9.5% of our entire gross state product, responsible for thousands of jobs. And I'm excited about the future of agriculture and what it holds. I hope they start building more houses so timber values will go up. That will certainly help the local economy here significantly. But you're looking for different ways to use timber than you ever have before. I guess, when did we do the groundbreaking of the biomass plant here? Not too long ago. And I got a report on that the other day. That was a few months ago, and so progress is going there. You know, sending the message about working hard is a good thing. Any of you here last year about the Department of Labor that was issuing rules that would restrict young people from working on their family farm or ranch? Did y'all hear that? That's too wild to make up. Here at a time when we want to encourage people to work, we have our own Department of Labor saying that young people can't work on their family farm or ranch in certain situations. I want y'all to know that 35 years ago, I'd have been all for those rules. I'd have thought that would have been a pretty good idea. We didn't have that opportunity to do that in Palestine where I grew up. My father thought that you needed to be working pretty regular. As a matter of fact, when we got home from school, we had two choices. We can go to the farm and work, or we could stay inside and study. Education became a whole lot more important for me when those were the two options that we had. But I think that's the message that we need to have for young people today, is that this is still the land of opportunity, and upward mobility can happen to anybody that wants to study hard, that wants to work hard, that wants to treat their neighbors properly. And that is the message that we need to be sending. And that's not the message that unfortunately gets sent from time to time. But it's up to you whether or not that's going to continue to be sent. You know, we have faced struggles in Texas, we know, but we seem to always work to overcome them. And I know Senator Nichols and Representative White are working very hard on your behalf tonight. I tried to get them to fly down here with me. I'm kind of glad they didn't now. They'd have got a little extra flying time they wouldn't have bargained for. We had a situation in Texas where the rights of private property owners were being infringed. The loopholes in the law and a series of bad court cases had occurred. And so because Texas spoke up loudly and clearly about that, the legislature changed those laws back to favor landowners one more time. We need that to happen because, hey, it all starts and ends with the land if you think about it. And land ownership and land stewardship is the reason that we have that opportunity for upward mobility. I was talking to two agricultural producers who've made a lot of money buying and selling cattle, involved in agriculture their entire life. And they said, you know, I want you to think about something. They said, our entire lives, agriculture has been defined as an era of surplus. We produce more than we can ever eat, always drives prices down. They said now that we think that we're seeing a shift, agriculture is going to be defined as an era of shortage, struggling to keep up with the vast world population growth. Did you know that we're growing at a rate of 1 million people every 5 days on this planet? 1 million new people. We were having some water debates, and I was talking to some ag producers, and one of the farmers popped up and said, great, 1 million new people drinking our water. And I said, sir, you got to think about it like this. That's 1 million new customers every 5 days. That's a pretty good thing. We need people to buy our products. As a matter of fact, the United Nations panel on global sustainability issued a report last year that said by the year 2030, we're going to need 50% more food, 45% more energy, and 30% more water. Now, those are daunting statistics. I've never watched and put a whole lot of faith in what the United Nations had to say on a lot of things. But I think it should make us stop and think about where our food comes from, the ability to move food around. They also said the way to help solve this would be to have a global tax on carbon and to have direct regulation of goods and services. I really fell off of what the United Nations had to say then. But if you think about where Texas is today, with our vast population growth, we have challenges. Obviously, transportation is one of them. I was giving a speech, and I said, in another part of the state, and I said, has anybody driven through Austin lately? And the guy yelled out, I hadn't driven through Austin, but I sure sat through there lately. And if you've had to drive on I-35 corridor, you know exactly what he's talking about. Not a fun environment. If you think about our struggle to fund public education, to work through the accountability issues that are always there, if you think about the number of children today that don't finish high school and the inability for them to be where they need to be in terms of trained and ready to be a part of this workforce, you know we have issues. It's been said, I don't know if this is exact, but 70 to 80% of the jobs in Texas today don't necessarily require a 4-year degree, but they do require a higher level of training than just going through high school. And that's why placing an emphasis on skills training, career and technical training is a very important part of our public education system today. Partnering with our community colleges to get that year or two of certification is a very important part of who we are today. Anybody in here parents tonight? Any of your children all mature at the same time? Any of you still waiting on some of your children to maybe mature? Hey, in agriculture, I'm here to tell you, all flowers don't bloom at the same time. That's a good thing, right? But the reality is, we know, as a state as big as Texas, that all education systems can't be the same, and that we have to continuously try to learn to reach out and find ways to capture the imagination and attention of our young people so that we can have the skilled workforce that we need. I spent a lot of time on economic development for rural Texas and for all of Texas. I meet with a lot of different companies that we either want to expand their workforce here or bring their jobs to Texas. And they have a lot of questions as they go through the list, finding out whether or not that they want to locate here. And the two inevitable questions that are a part of just about every discussion that I have is, what is Texas going to do to have a skilled workforce? And what is Texas going to do about water needs? Those are two fundamentals that we've got to get right, folks, if we want to continue to have jobs and investment and attract capital so that our children and our grandchildren can have the opportunities that we've had to remain here in the Lone Star State. We know what the drought has done to our economy. 2011, worst single-year drought in our state's history. $8.3 billion in ag and timber losses. These are not economic impact numbers. These are real cash losses of lost opportunity. And living in the pine thicket of East Texas, you've seen a lot of that loss yourself. I got a lot more firewood on my place of the oaks that have died a little north of here. And we've all seen that. We recognize the damage. Plainview, Texas, in the Panhandle, Cargill had a meat packing plant that they announced closure of about 2 weeks ago and lost 2,000 jobs. 2,000 families impacted because our cattle numbers are at an all-time low. We have to plan for new water resources. Right now, because the lakes around the Austin area have been chronically low, rice farmers in the lower Colorado Basin are not going to get water again this year. And you all understand what that means. Not only does that affect the rice farmers and their families, but it affects the neighboring businesses. It affects the retail trade in those communities when you don't have the harvesting and the planting and what's going on. So right now there's a big debate today about whether or not we're going to fund our state water plan. Well, I've served on a local city council, and I know the difficulties that communities have in Woodville and Comanale and other communities, Warren, about providing water resources. And you have to make those tough decisions because you have to have water and you have to have those basic necessities. That is economic development. And I know that you need to plan for that, but our state government needs to do its part as well. And we're having a lot of discussions. I testified on Senate Bill 4 this morning about the need to be certain that we can affirm to businesses that want to expand and bring their jobs to Texas, that Texas of today is going to stand up and make it happen. I think about the threats that we have, and Judge Blanchett mentioned the book that I wrote, and we just released Broken Borders, Broken Promises. I've worked with landowners along the Texas-Mexico border who have been driven off their land by violent drug cartels who are greedy and ruthless and have no value for human life. And our landowners have had to face those difficulties. They have pleaded with our federal government for more resources. More resources have been granted, but comments have been made that the border is safer than ever. I've got some oceanfront property to sell to the same people that believe that. I believe Texas farmers and ranchers, how about you? I believe the people that are raising their families there that are pleading for help. And it was so bad that I got 2 retired generals to do an assessment of the border and stating the cold hard facts. The drug cartels were infiltrating gangs all across America. It's so bad that the Chicago Crime Commission a couple of weeks ago named a Mexican drug cartel kingpin as public enemy #1. Now, when was the last time that designation was given, and who was it given to? Al Capone. It's when the Chicago Crime Commission did that. That's the reality of what's going on, and you have criminals like Noriega who have pushed this, and it's grown and grown, and now it is a crisis. And we know that Washington is trying to find the right way to solve our immigration issues. I can tell you that Mexico is the #1 trading partner for Texas. They are a valuable trading partner. We need to preserve that trade because trade equals jobs. And we need to find a way to deal with this problem that's plaguing our nation. But I will tell you, folks, the reason that we have people that are undocumented in Texas today is because we have a failed guest worker and workforce system. One that does not allow to meet the needs of our economy. Now, my dad worked in a factory in Palestine for 36 years. I believe that every American that wants a job should be first in line to get those jobs, but those lines aren't forming. They're not forming in California where strawberries are going unpicked. They're not growing in Washington State where apples went unpicked last year, and no one is relocated to the Rio Grande Valley to pick the best grapefruit in the world that's grown right here in Texas. So we've got challenges, and this book addresses that. And you can go to toddstaples.com, and all the proceeds go to help border security and immigration reform. So it's a very real issue, and one we need to get serious about facing. And I'll tell you how serious it is. Last year, we had Texas Rangers that were in the Rio Grande. They got fired on by cartel members from the other side. They returned fire pretty heavily. As a matter of fact, about 300 rounds. They had a press conference a couple of days later, and the press were a little bit miffed, and they said, wait a minute, let me get this right. You were fired on a handful of times, and yet you returned over 300 rounds. Why would you fire over 300 rounds when you were only fired on a handful of times? You know what I want our answer to be each and every time in Texas? We only fired 300 rounds because that's all the bullets we had. You know? I just think you meet force with a stronger and greater force. And we need to send the message that we believe in the sovereignty of the United States of America. We're not going to cede 1 inch of Texas soil. We like the life that we have, and we're going to fight to preserve it. And that needs to be the message that we send. And you're doing that by being here tonight in support of your community, in support of your local businesses, in support of your schools, because you want your children to have an opportunity. And sometimes the answers are not always easy. They're difficult to find. Sometimes we get in rooms and we try to find those solutions, and our voices get raised a little bit. But you know, you have to stay at the table. You have to look for those answers because it's worth fighting for. G.K. Chesterton was a poet who lived in the early 1900s. And he wrote something one time that has always meant a lot to me. He said, you know, the true soldier fights not because he hates what is in front of him, but because he loves what is behind him. And I love this state, and I love this country, and I know you do too. And we've got to fight because we love what God has blessed us with. We love our families, and we love our community. And it is an honor to stand with you in that fight. Thank you so much for letting me be here with you tonight. God bless you.
I don't know if I introduced myself earlier, and I'm Kathy Fettner with the Tyler County Chamber of Commerce. I'd like to now introduce to you our incoming president. She's going to be presenting the Teacher of the Year Awards, Amy Bythewood, and if Sean Dunn with Representative James White's office would join us here on the stage, she's going to be making a presentation to each one of them too from Representative White. He couldn't be here tonight because he's voting on all the things we want him to vote.
It's my honor to introduce to you our Teachers of the Year for Tyler County, and I'm going to start with Chester ISD. Dory Holton. Ms. Holton is a dedicated individual that takes pride in her profession. Ms. Holton, if you'll come up here. Though only in her third year, she's a veteran in her ability. She's a professional teacher that emphasizes discipline, compassion, and real learning in her classroom. Her demeanor toward her students and peers is one of cooperation. She's a team player and is always looking for new ways to ensure her students are successful. She always involves her students through various technologies to help their learning, which makes her classroom fun and exciting. Ms. Holton's involved in her community through church activities, school activities, and community organizations. She and her husband, Eric, who is in the back, are parents of 2 young boys and expecting their third in March, next month. Oh my goodness. Chester is honored to provide to you Ms. Dory Holton as our Teacher of the Year. This is why I don't lay my keys down, because I'll lose them. I'll lose this in just a few minutes. Okay, Colmasville Independent School District selected Renee McAlpin. She graduated from Chester High School and began raising her family. Her love for teaching and working with students began later in life as she worked as library aide with Judy Kinnison, one of my favorite ladies in the world. The love for teaching sparked her desire to begin her college studies and obtain her teaching degree. It was very difficult during those first few years. She was raising 4 children, working full-time, and managing a household. She graduated from SFA, summa cum laude. Next, she obtained a secondary English certification, and later she was chosen by the SFA Education Department to receive additional training to help mentor beginning teachers. She currently teaches Texas history along with sophomore and senior English and directs one-act plays. Candy Drake from Spurger ISD. I was waiting for that. Candy Drake moved to Tyler County 42 years ago after marrying Roy Drake. They wrote this in here. I wouldn't have said that. They have 3 children, Amy, Alan, and Angela, and 7 grandchildren. She graduated from Lamar University with a BS in 1990. She's been with Spurger ISD for 22 years and began as a special education aide for 1 year, taught 4th through 6th grade for 2 years, taught special education / content mastery for the last 18 years, and the last 2 years have been in the 2nd grade reading. Candy's love for teaching comes naturally along with the wonderful influences from her mother, a retired teacher of 30 years, and her grandmother and 4 aunts, all retired teachers. Teaching children is truly one of the greatest careers a person can have. She feels very blessed to be able to choose such a rewarding career. Congratulations. Warren ISD selected Carrie Alden. She's been employed with Warren ISD for 4 years as teacher of mathematics. Prior to employment with Warren, she worked for Beaumont ISD for 13 years at Odom Academy. Throughout her tenure at Warren ISD, she's resided on the high school campus where she's taught various levels of math, including Algebra 1 and 2 and geometry, both regular and pre-AP levels. You know how hard that can be. She's a native of Beaumont, where she's resided most of her life. She graduated from Kelly High School in 1986 and attended Lamar University. She married to her husband, Jim, of almost 23 years, and has 2 sons, Brett and Nathan, both who are attending college at Texas A&M at College Station. Only one. And Texas A&M at Galveston, respectively. When her youngest son was an infant, she returned to Lamar University to complete her degree in education, and she's currently completing the Master Math Teacher program at SFA. She's an asset to Warren ISD and an asset to the field of education. She's very deserving of the honor of Teacher of the Year, and we congratulate her. Woodville ISD has selected Walt Wilson. Mr. Wilson was raised in El Paso, Texas, the son of 2 Army sergeants. He graduated from Texas A&M in 1977, where he's been a member of the Fighting Texas Ag Corps Cadets. He served 20 years in the Army as an airborne ranger infantryman before retiring and becoming a teacher. It says here that everyone tried to dissuade him from becoming a teacher. However, one man, General Lawson Magruder, a graduate from the other university in Texas, told him second only to the defense of our nation is the education of our youth. Go be a teacher. So he did. He's a highly qualified in math, science, and history, and is qualified to teach and has taught government for Angelina College. He's married to the former Pamela Glasscock and have 2 children, Susan Cotton and Sergeant Joseph Wilson, and 1 grandson, Joe. Mr. Wilson, better known to his co-workers as the One, is looking forward to many more happy and productive years at Woodville High School. Thank you so much for our teachers and the schools that came out to support them. Now I would like to introduce our presenter, Jimmy Tucker, who will present our Outstanding Citizen of the Year.
Thank you and good evening. Does it work? Ladies and gentlemen, I would like for you to take just a moment and imagine that you're a leader of a group of 25 men, and your duty is to get them to do a variety of jobs without pay. And just a couple of the jobs are pulling up to a house with flames coming out from all different areas, and you tell them to get a ladder and climb up on top of that house. Or when you get there, you tell them to go inside that house, because when the call came in, it was unknown if all the occupants were out. Now, what would make a group of men do things like this? Well, first of all, they have to love their job. But most importantly, they have to have the utmost respect for and the faith in their leader. And that's what the Woodward Fire Department has in our Chief, Tommy Shane. Tommy graduated in 1966 from Coombs High School. He attended college at Sam Houston. In 1971, he returned to Coombs to marry his high school sweetheart, Dana.
They have one daughter, Heather Shane Gray. They have 3 grandsons and a granddaughter. Tommy was employed by Spurlock Logging for 28 years. At the present time, he is employed by Prime Acres Management, where he has worked for 8 years. He also owns and operates his own business, T.D. Shane Trucking. Tommy joined the Coonk Volunteer Fire Department in 1971 and served as chief for 3 years before moving to Woodville in 1978. He joined the Woodville Volunteer Fire Department in March 1984. He served under Chief Alva Cook and Chuck Betcher. He served as an assistant chief for 6 years. He became the chief of our fire department in June 2004. He helps and promotes countywide mutual aid and serves on committees to improve countywide equipment and safety. He is the vice president of the Tyler County Firefighters Association. As chief, he has seen his fair share of disasters. He has been through not one but 2 hurricanes as we went through Rita and I. Also, the drought of 2011 that Mr. Staples referred to brought difficulty on everyone and kept us busy for a good long time. Being a first responder covers more than just fires. It involves things such as wrecks, traffic control, providing a JAWS team for our county, Amber Alerts, and patient assist with EMS. And this next one, all the guys that's in the fire department is going to start nodding their head yes about, because if you ask anyone about Tommy and that knows him, they would tell you that no is not a word that he ever uses when asked for help, even if it's personal, business, disasters, or other fire department matters. As chief, he volunteers his men to do many jobs and activities, including our cat is caught up the tree, or there's a large snake in a tree in our front yard. And that happened at night. It was very dark, and that was a very large snake that was up that tree. But we got it out, and the cat too, so we've done a good job. So the activities that we do are participating in various parades, helping deliver toys at Christmas time for the Angel Tree program, raising money for MDA, and demonstrating fire safety during Fire Prevention Week for the schools and the daycares. He would tell you his 29 years of service in Woodville has given him the honor of serving with a great group of firemen. He gives all credit to the support and the love of his brotherhood of firemen. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure and privilege to introduce the Outstanding Citizen of the Year, Mr. Tommy Shane.
I'm getting nervous and I'm going to sweat. You mean hold that? Can you hear me? All right. Want them to hear me. I'll tell you what. What about that? Right here. That work? Okay. Thank y'all very much. I appreciate this very much. From the Chamber of Commerce. I've been scared ever since Lyle Rainey called me. He said, Tommy, you're going to be Citizen of the Year. I said, man, what you want? I said, no, man, I'm serious. Anyway, if I know Lyle, he don't get serious too much. But anyway, it's turned out good. I got a few people I'd like to thank. Most of all, thank the Chamber for even considering me with a group of people that's already run this award. First of all, I'd like to thank God for giving me the strength to stay with these young guys over here and try to corral them and lead them in a decent way. And I've been blessed with that so far. I'd like to thank my family, all of them coming. We got them here, nobody's even fighting. I'm good at that. I appreciate that very much. My grandsons and all y'all. And one I can't forget, and I won't never forget, is my wife. If it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be up here. She stands behind me all the time. Thank you. She stands behind me all the time when we get busy, and even our jobs or everything gets in a bind, everything. She always comes to me, and I said, man, what we're going to do? She was the first thing, we're going to keep faith. So she's been with me for 39 years now, and she always, that's the first word she says, we're going to have faith. Everything's been good. It's been good so far, and I love you very much. All right. That one guy I'd like to recognize, and I've been buying trucks from him for 20 years, or probably, Mr. John Griffin. He come down, he don't even want to sell me nothing, so that shows you love there. Thank you very much, John. All right, let's see what else we got here. Oh, man. I forgot the Woodville Fire Department. I try not to get emotional with you guys. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And I appreciate the wives for letting them come and do everything I asked of them. And people, you couldn't ask for a better department than what Woodville, Texas has. I hope you all appreciate them. I love them just like they're my sons. I raised with them. We've been through hell and back. But always, they come to me. What do you want, Chief? Never had one of them say no. And Jimmy, the assistant chief, I just couldn't ask for nothing. And if you ever want a family that big, they would be the guys to have where you come home on family supper. I appreciate you guys. Thank the chamber again one more time. To the people of Woodville, Texas, I love all of y'all. And Lyle Rainey, I'll get you later wherever you at. Thank y'all very much.
Now I'd like to introduce John Wilson, who will present our Honorary Citizen of the Year.
Good evening, everyone. I was told right before I came up here that there were a few things that I could not talk about. So I have to scratch out game wardens, other run-ins with the law. It's my honor to be here tonight to introduce the 2013 Tyler County Honorary Citizen of the Year. Many of you know Jack Blakeney through work, service projects, being caught by one of his many stories, or hearing his familiar voice singing, always singing. Some may have met him if you were broke down or just needing a ride. He would have been one of the most likely candidates to stop by, give you aid in your time of need, be it a ride, a meal, gas money, or maybe another song. Jackie's a lifelong resident of Tyler County. He graduated from Combs Neal High School, received his bachelor and master's degrees from Sam Houston State University in Huntsville. He married Virginia Sheffield. They have 2 children, Clay and Holly. They're the proud grandparents of 3 grandchildren. Sometime, when you have lots of time, ask Jackie about his grandchildren. He'll be happy to tell you. The next part of my list is a little long, so I have to check things off as I go. Jackie has 30+ years of service to local schools as a teacher, principal, and special education worker. He was Tyler County Co-op Director of Special Education. He worked with Region 5. He enjoyed doing that so much he keeps coming out of retirement and going back to work with kids as he keeps going. He taught GED classes for Tyler County, helping adults get their diploma, even his own mother. He was mentor to many kids of Tyler County. He was a part of the Tyler County Dogwood Festival pageant and cast for many years. He is retired from the Woodville Volunteer Fire Department with 20+ years. He has volunteered at Heritage Village as a guest speaker and storyteller. He was awarded Liar of the Year 2 years in a row. In 1991, he was honored with Appreciation Award for service and support by the Tyler County Desert Storm Support Group. He has been director of the Tyler County Chamber of Commerce from 1983 to 1985. He is the past president of the Tyler County Child Welfare. In 1994 and 95, he brought victory to the Tyler County Chamber of Commerce in the Creative Storytelling Contest by defeating Polk County Chamber of Commerce at the Alabama Coshawty Indian Reservation. He's been the keynote speaker for the Tyler County Chamber of Commerce Banquet, Rotary Club Installation Banquet, high school graduations in Tyler County and Southeast Texas schools, and in addition to many other speaking engagements. Jackie has a true love for outdoors and nature. In 1984, he wrote articles for the Tyler County Booster to share this love. The titles seem to tell the story. A Cold Hunt, A Hunt to Remember, A Goose Hunt, A Tribute to Lady, Big Buck, A Reality, Fishing is Fun. Each one is very entertaining in true Jack Blakeney style. He is versed in Texas history, low school history, and genealogy. Many of you are probably kin to him. Our local roads, trails, and waterways are cleaner for the hundreds of miles he has walked, always coming out with trash someone else left behind. Jackie has a great love for the American flag and flies it proudly. A few years ago, he started placing them in his neighborhood, Timberland Subdivision. In 2011, he expanded that love to include the Magnolia Cemetery. And with the help of family and friends, buying every flag he could find, placed over 400 flags on graves of fallen soldiers for Memorial Day 2012. It takes several days to put the flags out and take them down afterwards. If you drive through the cemetery during the holiday weekend to take in the beautiful sight of waving flags, you might see Jackie walking around, checking each and every flag, and will take the time to talk to you, hear your story about your hero, and the most asked question, what organization is sponsoring this, is always answered with a smile and just us. I know there are many accolades which I've left out, many stories left untold. We'll save those for the roast. But I hope I've painted a brief portrait of a true asset to our community. And with pride, I'm pleased to introduce this year's Tyler County Honorary Citizen of the Year, Jack Blakeney.
I don't know what to say. But as John says, I sing all the time. If you see a tear running down my face, don't ask me why. For cowboys ain't supposed to cry. But, no, I thought he was going to let me read that before he put it out there, but anyway, I didn't get to that. Let me tell you that I'm honored. I appreciate it greatly. I think it was Theodore Roosevelt said that there's no end to the good a person can do as long as they don't care who gets credit for it. And as I mature, I find that to be more meaningful to me on a day-to-day basis. I enjoy what I do, and if it's stopping to help someone, let me assure you that I have benefited greatly just by stopping to pick up people on the highway, or somebody that was out of gas, or, and my wife will tell you one night I brought a couple home that had a baby because their car broke down beside the highway. But anyway, I've had some great experiences, but I'm going to tell one. I stopped between Warren and Village Mills, and there was this lady, and she was walking away from this car. I won't describe it because I hope I'm going to give her a name. I don't remember it anyway. But she had a gas can, and she was out of gas, and of course, as is normal in my situation, I was either listening to or singing country music, and she says, I guess I feel like it's safe to get in the car with someone that likes that kind of music. So she got in with me, and I carried her back to Cooch to get some gas. Well, along the way, she told me about her family, and she had several boys, and the oldest one was finishing up his 4-year degree and going to medical school. She had one that was a junior in high school. He was just a star athlete. And then she had a younger one, and she told me where they had all gone to school and where the one was a junior in high school. And I just listened to all these stories, and I enjoyed. She hardly gave me time to talk about my grandkids. But anyway, she told me these things, and I never did mention to her that on occasion I worked in that high school. And I just listened to those stories, and I enjoyed them. And when we got back to Cooch, and she got out to go in this station where I thought certainly she knew everybody, and she turned around and she came back and she says, I don't have any money. So I gave her $5 to pay for her gas, and carried her back to her car and waited until she got her car started and headed on down the road, and she was happy and I was happy and everything was great. Well, I normally wouldn't mention a person's name in something like this, but since the story turned out to be as well as I thought it did, 2 or 3 weeks later, I decided I would mention to the counselor in this particular high school that I had met this lady and that we had a really good visit, and she told me about her son that had graduated there that was finishing up his college work, and about her son that was a star athlete. And he looked at me and he says, we don't have any kids here by that name. I says, you mean you didn't have one that graduated here several years ago that's finishing his college career and going on to medical school? He said, no. I said, you don't have one that's a junior in high school that's a star athlete? He says, no. So anyway, that was a good experience. Now, just a short time after that, I was going by, and there was an 18-wheeler, and the man was walking away from the 18-wheeler with a 5-gallon can. And it was over on the other side of the road, so I turned around and went back and picked him up, and he said he'd been on his CB trying to get someone to stop and pick him up so he could get some diesel, and no one would pick him up. Well, anyway, I carried him to Cooch back to this same station, and he got out, and he went in this little store, and he came back, and he said, they won't take a corporate check, and I don't have any money. So I gave the man $20 and carried him back to his truck. Now, on our ride, he told me that he owned this trucking company, and he did not normally drive, but things were getting a little tighter, so he was making a run. So that was fine, but we had a good visit, and I was beginning to be a little skeptical, you know. But anyway, I carried him back to his truck and waited until he got his truck going and got him on the way, and you know, but he wanted me to give him my name and address, which I did, and he was going to send me a check for this $20. And So anyway, a week down the road, and 2 weeks down the road, a month down the road, and 2 months down the road, and I thought, well, that's okay, I can get past this, that's all right. It was a good experience, enjoyed visiting with the man. Well, 14 months later, I got a letter in the mail, a really nice letter. This man really did own that trucking company, and he had lost my mailing address, and just as soon as he found it, his wife sat down and wrote me a letter. So there's a real world out there, but anyway, it's all good. Anytime you can help somebody, it's worth it. Folks, I appreciate this honor very much.
I'd now like to introduce Lance Johnson, who will present our Business of the Year.
Well, it's very difficult to follow Mr. Blakeney. I do not have any stories, as I'm not as mature as he is. Did I mention? And I do have to agree with the gentleman that thanked his wife. Behind every good man is a great wife and a surprised mother-in-law, I've been told. So I agree with you 100%. My name is Lance Johnson. I'm honored to stand here before you, serving as a superintendent of schools for Warren Independent School District. First of all, I'd like to thank Tyler County Chamber of Commerce for the opportunity tonight to recognize the excellent and exceptional Warren Independent School District and the accomplishments that she's enjoyed over the past few years. Each excellent school district begins and is supported by an outstanding community. I'm going to give you a little history and some facts behind Warren, Texas, and the Warren Independent School District. Warren, Texas is located in south central Tyler County, 12 miles south of Woodville on Highway 69 and 19 miles north of Koontz. Warren is located on a historical road that ran from Liberty to Town Bluff. The Warren community began in earnest in 1883 with the building of the Texas and New Orleans Railroad, which ran from Beaumont through Warren to Rockland on the Neches River and then eventually to Dallas. The first post office opened in 1883 in a large building that held the train depot and the telegraph office. Warren was named for Mr. Warren, who was connected with the first sawmill built in the community in the mid-1880s by the Young and Williams Globe Planting Mills of Beaumont. The community and surrounding area was to become the home of a number of sawmills in future years. The Warren community continued to grow, but like most small towns, it saw both rises and falls in its population. By 1917, Warren was the home of one of 47 different schools in Tyler County, number 24. By 1955, all of the small schools surrounding Warren had consolidated to form the Warren School District. Two of the early educators later served in elected positions. A B.A. Yank Collins served as a state senator, and Dave Lindsay served as a state representative. Today, the Warren Independent School District has close to 1,300 students, of which most come from the 5 primary communities of Warren, Fred, Wildwood, Hillister, and Ivanhoe. Our students are served on 4 different campuses, and our district stretches more than 250 square miles. We employ approximately 180 employees, with many of them returning to Warren as graduates who have come back to work for a school district with an excellent record and an outstanding reputation. In the past 3 years, with the support of the community, Warren ISD has completed a $29 million building program that includes several new state-of-the-art classrooms and renovations to bring older buildings up to standard for 21st century education. The Board of Trustees, the students, the faculty, and the staff have embraced a progressive approach to increase the daily rigor in our curriculum in order to prepare our students to compete on a global level for career and college opportunities after graduation. Our technology department and instructional leadership teams are currently planning a one-to-one technology initiative that will put an iPad in the hands of every 6th grader and 9th grader this fall. with an expectation that all secondary students will have a device by 2016. Elementary campuses will also have iPad cards to utilize between grade levels beginning this fall. In order to prepare and motivate our teachers to be on the cutting edge of delivering technology-enhanced instruction, Warren ISD will issue each teacher an iPad by March 1st of this year. The Board of Trustees is investing more than $300,000 toward this initiative. Warren ISD students excel in extracurricular programs. They continue to represent our district at the regional, state, and national level in areas such as agricultural science, art, band, and academic UIL contests. In my opinion, the Warren students are second to none. The Warren community and school district is continuing to grow, with more and more new residents moving to the area from cities looking for a more relaxed way of life and excellent schools for their children to attend. The Warren Independent School District will continue to thrive with its exceptional faculty, staff, students, Board of Trustees, and community support. The pride of the Warriors will forever be ingrained in each student that graduates from the Warren Independent School District. Again, I want to say thank you to the Tyler County Chamber of Commerce for recognizing and honoring Warren ISD as the 2012 Business of the Year. At this time, I would like to ask Mr. Ray Reed, Warren Independent School District Board President, who began his term in 2000 and has been Board President since 2004, to come up and accept this award on behalf of Warren ISD. Thank you.
You don't know what a thrill it is for an old Aggie to get to talk to you folks. We couldn't have accomplished what we have in the last few years without the excellent leadership of a fine superintendent, and that's Mr. Vance Johnson. Again, we thank you for this honor, and I'm humbled by the experience.
While they're gathering for their picture, I would like to recognize the 2012 board members of the Tyler County Chamber of Commerce. If you'll just stand at your seat. We have President Brian Weatherford, Vice President Amy Bythewood, Donnie Gregory, Lois Henderson, Alice Lewis, Sharon Miller, Everett Powell, Lyle Rainey, TJ Lingle, Chris McCool, and myself. In just a minute, when they're through with their picture, we're going to let Sheriff Brian Weatherford give the remarks as the 2012 President of the Chamber of Commerce.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. 2012 was a fantastic year. Tyler County saw a lot of growth, anxious about the future, very excited about it. I want to thank tonight all the school teachers, the administrators, the hospital, their faculty, staff, elected officials, county officials, city and state. Thank Mr. Staples for coming tonight. Like I said, 2012 was a very great year. It was an honor and a privilege for me to serve as president. I'll be turning it over to Amy Bythewood here in just a minute. She'll give you a few words. A little special note that I'd like to say tonight to the firemen. Myself, Chief Yosko's in attendance tonight. From the law enforcement personnel side, we get a check every 2 weeks. You guys, thank you is all you get. Tonight I'd like to thank all of you. You guys mean a lot to me also. Tommy, Shane, Tyler, Brian, they go way back. We've had a lot of good times. Tommy, I know 2012 is a tough year for your family as well. Heather, I know Bo's very proud of you, Tommy. And again, I thank all the local businesses here for your support, the community as a whole. The Chamber could not do what they do without you. It's just been an honor and a privilege, and I thank each and every one of you. Thank you.
And now, Amy Bythewood, our 2013 President of the Tyler County Chamber of Commerce.
Ben told me he wants to go home, so keep it short. I'm looking forward to working with the Chamber 2013. This is an honor, and I'm very excited about the upcoming year. I'm looking forward to working with each and every one of you. Well, maybe not John so much, but most of you. We'll keep in touch on Facebook. But I want everybody to be safe going home tonight. And like I said, I'm going to keep it short. And if you'll rise with me, Reverend Powell, Milton, is going to do the benediction for us.
I don't think I need this microphone very much with my voice, but I'm not going to preach, so don't get scared there, okay? If you would bow your heads with me tonight. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this wonderful night. Father, I'm just so thankful to live in a wonderful county. Father, with great people to serve with, Father. Father, great people to live with within our county. Father, we thank you tonight for the school teachers, Father, for the education that they have given so many young people throughout our communities, Father, and all over the world. God, for them that sacrifice, Lord, and they go and they give all that they can give. For our firefighters, for all the people, Father, in our community that's working so hard to make a stronger community. Father, we just pray, God, that you would bless them in a mighty way. Father, we pray that you would prosper our county. Give us strength, Father, as we honor you. And we thank you, Lord, and we ask that you give us safe travel back home tonight to our homes and our families. And we'll be sure to give you the praise, honor, and glory for it all. For it's in Jesus' name we pray.